could be the worst storm to hit Florida in over a century.
U.S. President Joe Biden said fleeing Hurricane Milton was a matter of life and death on Tuesday, and he urged those ordered to evacuate to do so immediately, after the massive storm lashed Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula with heavy rain and wind on its way to Florida's Gulf Coast. A view from the International Space Station showed a monster storm that's expected to grow even larger before making landfall in the Tampa Bay area on Wednesday. Highways leading out of the area were jammed with evacuating Floridians. A direct hit on the bay would be the first since 1921.
Milton underwent what we call rapid intensification.
Dr. Daniel Guilford is a climate scientist for Climate Central.
Rapid intensification is something that is becoming more common in a warming world. We know that as human beings increase the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, largely by burning fossil fuels, we are increasing the temperature all around the planet. In certain places like the Gulf of Mexico, temperatures are actually growing faster than around other places on the planet over the ocean. And that means that there's a lot more fuel available to these storms than there would have been if we hadn't burned greenhouse gases.
While Milton's intensity was likely to fluctuate, it was also expected to double in size, putting hundreds of miles of coastline within the storm surge danger zone, according to the National Hurricane Center. Florida's densely populated west coast is still reeling from the devastating Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. Relief efforts remain ongoing throughout much of the U.S. Southeast after Helene made landfall on September 26th, killing more than 200 people across 6 states and causing billions of dollars in damage.
This is 9 cases of water for me and my son and my wife. We got our batteries. We got blue bags from the hospital when I put stuff in.
I mean, we can leave, but you're looking at the interstate. By the time you find a place, it's no place. You can't go to Georgia, you can't go to Carolina, so you got to go west toward Pensacola, Panama City. I'm pretty sure all that's booked to Mobile, Alabama. All the rooms are taken.
With 12 gauge cables for the generator. Whole house. Sure will. Here we got 4 5-gallon cans.
So either you just go out there and camp out somewhere and ride it out, or choose to stay and try to do the best you can while you're here. And that's what we choose. We got gas, food, 2 generators, portable air conditioners to push around to room. So I think we may do okay.
And the generator will run this, the refrigerator, the big microwave, but we got the small microwave just for that. This is one of the portable units for Devin, the air conditioner I was telling you. It will cool his whole room and more.
I just feel like we're not right on the beach. I know you're still gonna get the destruction, the wind, the trees and all that. We saw that with Charlie, we saw that with Ian.
Pantry, we got plenty of food, so we pretty much know when hurricanes come. We are stacked. We got a cabinet, Devin, open that one. Not that, the pantry with your snacks.
Are you worried about the water rising here with storm surge?
This far in, it can happen, but I haven't seen after all these 3 or 4 hurricanes, but I know this one's coming direct at us. So we got the truck to kind of jump in ahead towards 75 if we have to. It's full of gas.
This is our pantry. We try to prepare food, snacks, Gatorade. We keep it full of food.
And this is where the medication will go?
Yep. See what you got, see what you don't have. Batteries, flashlight. I always say you got to have it. That's a 500. And that will cool this whole room. And we got a freezer out here full of food.
So I always try to keep 6 cases of water on hand, just for hurricane. We never touch that. Because I know at the end of the day, people rushing in the stores, you're going to see water, you're going to see food. So we got a freezer also full of food. And that's why we got the generators to run the freezer and the refrigerator so our food won't get spoiled.
Windows, and these are the hurricane things they gave us for free when we bought it. Each one that got its own, we right where it go, like the top room, bedroom room, front. So each specific window, bedroom room, the bathroom.
I've been through it before. That's why you see it setting up like that. You learn from them.
Yeah.
And I have over the years.
Just in case, that's why I put the sandbags along that this time. You'll see them.
Evacuating is a privilege, right? And a lot of people don't have that privilege. There were some pretty sobering examples from the literature where, a person who was in a wheelchair had reached out to authorities in advance and with asking for help evacuating, and they didn't have the right transportation for their wheelchair. So they, either they were not able to come and get that person and like a neighbor was able to do it, or they did evacuate them, but they weren't able to bring their wheelchair. And so this person was then bedbound for the next week in the shelter. My name is Carson McPherson-Krutzke, and I'm a research associate at the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. My area of expertise is on risk communication, so how we communicate about all types of natural hazards, from earthquakes to landslides to flooding. People are unaware of shelters and where to go for information during hurricane events or tornado events. In terms of people's perceptions of where to go, people have somewhat negative perceptions of going to shelters. And so they may perceive these shelters to be uncomfortable. They're around strangers. They may not want to be in those spaces. And so they opt to not go to them. We also found really consistently that people believe that they're going to be safe at home. So they may underestimate the risk despite warnings, or may not understand the warnings, or have a history of experiencing events that weren't as bad, and so they think they're going to be safe. And then one that I think is really relevant to Helene is that people just lack transportation, resources, time, or social support to evacuate or shelter. I think one of the biggest ones that is really relevant to this one as well is authorities and agencies often fail to plan specifically for people with access and functional needs, or other people that have barriers to evacuating. So there's really lack of planning that creates a lot of issues for why people can and cannot access storms. As communicators, whether it's the Weather Service or local emergency management agencies, really trying to clearly paint a picture of what is going to be happening on the ground. Like, you are going to see extreme flooding. This is the level of flood expected. And that's really hard to do on a short time scale because there's uncertainty too. And so, it's really complicated. But I think as risk communicators, that's something that we need to be really thinking about, really learning from, especially as we're getting these events that are influenced by climate change. So they're more severe than we've ever seen. They're doing things differently. And so how we communicate also has to be different. Developing community connections, I think, is just like the key to disaster resilience, and helping people understand what are their options, what are these risks really going to look like, from now into the future, and how do we help align the communication around what people already care about and where they're already seeing information.